Big day tomorrow for me, as every day is a big day for all of us, isn't it? I've actually been called to do a session for an artist that's coming into Nashville tomorrow. So I want to take a moment because I've had several people ask me about doing sessions and a little bit of my session history. Most of my session history has been based around the beautiful fact and opportunity that session work came to me in my own environments, basically as an overdubbing facility. When I started with my first incarnation of a studio, which was basically out of an apartment spare bedroom. That's how I started, 1991, 92. And it was about that same time that something called the computer started happening in our lives. I know a lot of the folks will remember the first time that the computer actually became a viable thing. The younger generation obviously doesn't know that. They've had computers in their lives forever. And speaking of which, there's a couple high-end production machines, and that particular one right there on the right-hand side, that machine's done probably over 15,000 songs. Incredible machine. Now, also too, I produced a lot of video television stuff for CBS for 10 years with the fishing show that now has gone over to Roku in the streaming format. Point being, I've been doing this for a long time. And in the Nashville, Tennessee area, obviously, it has to be done at a level that people are demanding or expecting, because you're going to be compared to, obviously, the highest level. So when the computer rolled around in the early 90s, I was able to get in on the very front end of beta testing software. That started in 1992, and I started beta testing for Sony, Steinberg, and various companies that would Waves, just everybody that was trying to get into a digital format, which was not. Try selling a digital format to Mr. Owen Bradley, who was used to, old vinyl acetate being cut, and then later on tape, which was the standard even then when I came to Nashville. So all that to say, I would work a lot of sessions in my own environment, but I did a ton of stuff and have been blessed to do a lot of things at other places, and tomorrow is one of those places, the Sound Kitchen. And also, I think Studio 19 is part of that complex now, but I've worked a lot in both of those places. And here's something that you need to know if you're watching this. Everybody knows the names of the greats that have done stuff. I don't even have to say their names because you know them. The guitar players that you follow, that you've tried to learn stuff from. There's a lot of great songs that were played. When you start going back through the list, it was a lot of folks, but it wasn't. And in relationship to how many guitar pickers are in Nashville, in the 80s and 90s, it was 25, 35, 40 people making all the music. But that would be at the highest level, meaning that those songs were going to be what was going to be presented either on vinyl or CD on the radio. But then enter somebody like me. That I would be somebody that you would call in to not necessarily do the master, although I've played on masters, but somebody's got to do the song before it's ever given to the artist as a demo. And that's where I actually... That was my bread and butter, taking initial ideas, trying to create something to pass that idea along to that next tier, which would, most times it was the superstar, the producer, whoever it was going to be that was going to listen to the potential of what the song could offer the artist, and the bottom line, could it make everybody money? But that means there has to be a feeder system to that. And that was what I did. And it made more sense to me from a business standpoint to do that, because there's far more songs that you'll never hear, great songs in many cases, than what is available for the positions back then on radio. Radio used to play the top 40. Well, those top 40 spots, how many songs are vying for that? Think about that. And then you start having 40, 50 artists, or just 40 artists alone. If everybody had one song, that's the top 40, right? But that's not how it works. At one time, Nashville, Tennessee had 200 and 233 acts signed to record label deals in this town in 1992, 3, somewhere like that, right after the big Garth thing. So if you start thinking about 233 acts signed to record label deals, and every record label has their tier, their show pony male, their show pony female, a duet, which they can hopefully have like a Brooks and Dunn. And then the hardest thing, believe it or not, is a band. Trying to find a band to exist. Alabama, Diamond Rio. Those are the hardest things. It's always very easy to find a guy to sing or a girl to sing. It gets more difficult as you try to combine elements. So that's what I was been blessed to do, and to this day I still am blessed to do that. So I want to take a minute to share a little bit of insight by those for those that have asked, and also tell you about what I'm getting ready for. So a big part of my studio work has been the acoustic work that I've done. That's stemmed from guitars, mandolins, fiddles, dobro, all that type of thing. I'm what you would refer to as a utility man. There's no doubt that there's somebody that plays any one of these instruments far better than I do. But it's a little more difficult to find somebody who plays as many of them, so you get a whole lot for the bang for your buck. And all I've ever tried to do with any of these instruments when it comes to a commercial aspect of presentation is to play above the line of acceptability. There's a point that is acceptable and it reaches that line. And of course, there's people that go far above that. But at that point, who are you playing for? Are you playing for your fellow musicians that go, wow, look how incredible that is? Or are you playing for the person driving down the road going to a 9 to 5? Think about it. So I learned to play what needed to be played as good as I could play it. There was always somebody, and always has been, and always will be, somebody that could play it better. But if you get to that line of acceptability and you hit it, what more do you need? How much more salt do you want on your food? How much more pepperoni do you need on your pizza? It becomes a personal preference, but at the same time, being able to do it under pressure, on demand. We're going to be under the clock tomorrow. Somebody's paying big money tomorrow for the time that we're going to walk into this state-of-the-art facility. They don't want to sit there and watch Music Man Dan struggle with stuff while I'm eating up time. So there is all that element of the necessity to be able to perform. So tomorrow, my mistake concept is still in place. Nobody's going to die if I make a mistake or they make a mistake. At the same time, can't keep making them. And should you? No, I don't think you should. If you're making a mistake in the same place all the time, well then obviously something's rewired, something's wrong. You're just not thinking. I believe anybody watching this video is capable of playing anything they set their mind to if they give themselves the correct path. Obviously, if you see Eddie Van Halen doing something and you've never even tried to go down that road, or you've just tried to emulate it a little bit, it takes a lot more than just watching somebody and just doing it, right? You have to invest your time. So with that in mind, tomorrow there'll be moments that I'll struggle in that session, but the recovery is very fast. The recovery is typically one of two ways. I will either have stumbled where I just flat make a mistake, go to a chord that I'm supposed to go and I just go to the wrong chord. That happens. That's just a mistake. Oops, man, my fault. Sorry, let me do that part again. Or there can be a place where somebody else is doing something and somebody else is doing something, and then your effort mixed with everybody rubs something. Something is there. The biggest part that I will do is communicate with my fellow man tomorrow. So I will assume that they're doing it correctly. So you will not hear me say anything like, hey, bass player, you played that wrong. No, that's not how you talk to your fellow musician. What I will say is if he's doing something and I'm doing something and it kind of rubs each other where we're, clashing a little bit, I'll say, hey, brother, here's where I'm playing. Tell me where you're going to so I need to fix what I'm doing here so I can figure out how to fit in better. Communication is key. That's one reason I'm blessed to be asked to go on sessions, because I don't have a problem either, number one, admitting the mistake, taking responsibility, but more so resolving it so we can just do what needs to be for the song. So final thing, let's talk about the instruments tomorrow, and then I'll do some video stuff there. Gonna have a mandolin ready. Taylor guitar. That's a 1991 Taylor, handmade. Last year they made the handmaids, or 92 maybe. This is a classical guitar given to me by Hoot Hester, and of course the Grunspec Martin. That'll be going into session work for a big time producer tomorrow for the very first time. What else do you need? Well, you got to have a tuner. This tuner was Mr. Don Helms that he gave to me, and of course then you have to have extra batteries, couple of capos. Biggest thing to change your tone: picks, plectrums. These are tortoise shells, very rare. I have 2 of them. They're shaped differently. I get different tonalities, and I have a variety of different materials. Quickest way to change what your guitar sounds like: change your pick. I'll have my own set of headphones that the studio will obviously provide, but I'm used to those. They have a certain sonic quality that I like. Extra strings, the ability to change them on the fly. And of course, this is a kind of cool little thing. I like to have my my foot raised. So that's a raising device. So you can put your hand up, put your leg up there, and put your leg up, and then you put the guitar over it. But that's a normal day in the session. Tomorrow will be about I think it's a 3-song session, which probably will run about 3.5, 4 hours. And I'm going to listen to some of the songs. These are not the finals that we're going to be doing. They're just rough ideas. But I just wanted to take a moment to share a little bit of background history relative to recording. I've been fortunate to record with some of the most famous producers of all time. Owen Bradley. I worked for Mr. Bradley at Bradley's Barn a time or 5, and would visit with him. And just people like Chet Atkins being able to talk to people and talk about how they created stuff. Just today, went here in the town of Hendersonville and met with a Grammy Award-winning producer. That he had his awards there talking. He won his awards in 80, 91, and 96 for gospel stuff. Just neat. This is the hub of where all this stuff happens. So these are where the awards would end up most of the time, or at least the accolades and the recognition. But bottom line is, a lot of music that you've heard, there were a lot of people that it took to make that prior to whatever you heard. And it was truly just a handful of people that were making the records, and the Brent Masons of the world, which are one-take genius method, great tonality, and understand it. I mean, these guys are, they don't call them the A-team for nothing, right? But tomorrow, the producer that I'm working for, we are his A-team. And every time he's ever had a project in the last 15 years, I've been fortunate to be on call. I haven't made them all because I'm not there all the time every time he gets a session in. But when I'm in Nashville, I'm blessed to do it. And I wanted to take a moment just to show you what goes into that. So with that said, thank you for listening. Thank you for asking. I'll have some footage when I go to the session just to kind of give you a little brief on that. But there's a little history of what I've done and what I continue to do that I'm blessed to do. And it's part of that journey, isn't it? It sure is. I'm thankful to share part of that journey with you all. Thank you for listening. God bless you all.